Hey guys, I'm Cody Kemper with Bowdacious Bowrest, and today we are going to do an install video for your new bow rest. So you got it home, you got the box open. Inside should have your rod set, 2 mounting brackets, and your hardware package. So to start with, we're going to mount the brackets onto the bow first. In order to do this, first you got to take it apart. So we're going to take the ring off. There's a screw holding it onto the Picatinny rail. So if you pull that out, then it should slide right off. And then you want to pull the screws out of the stack and disassemble it. Now in the stack, there's going to be 4 parts. Top one is your Picatinny rail. Next one, the thick piece, is a spacer. This is likely not needed for your bow. However, there are some setups, maybe the sight or the configuration of it requires this spacer to be put in there so that you can get clearance on the rod. Might need it, but I'll show you how we figure that out in a minute. Rubber gasket, and the bottom piece has nuts pressed into it. So to start, what we're going to do is leave the spacer out, and I recommend starting without the spacer every time. Only use it if you need it. So easiest way to do it, put the other rubber gasket on there, and we'll attach that as soon as we know whether or not we're using the spacer. But put it back in, leave the spacer out, start one screw on one side, and then the assembly will just slide over one side of the bow. Put your back screw in. I'm gonna cheat, use a drill a little bit. I recommend doing this by hand. The materials can be over flexed if you over tighten them. So use a screwdriver if you're not comfortable, but this works. So now that's there, and we want to leave it loose like this. This will allow us to put the ring back on, put the rod on, and get a final adjustment where we want it to sit. So that's on there loose. We're gonna put our ring back on and slide that on there. Okay, and then we're gonna do the exact same thing on the bottom side. Take that off, ring slides off. Take the spacer out of the stack. Screw on one end. Slide over. And then put the back screw in. Now, same thing again. I recommend using a screwdriver, but it can be done if you're careful. Okay, now those are on. They're loose. Put this ring back on here. All right, next step is to loosen the wing nuts on the back of the rings. Now, take these and loosen them up just a little bit, and this will let the rod slide in. Then you can take the rod, move the rubber band, take the end cap off the top side, and now this unit will slide up from the bottom through both rings. So here, through here. Okay, once we're in this position, you want to make sure that the rod is running parallel to the bow frame. This bracket's not higher or lower or anything like that. And then you're going to want to shift it around just a little bit so that you get it right where you want it, nice and perpendicular, nice and straight. And once you've gotten that figured out, once you've gotten that set, then just want to tighten up one of the screws between the rails. And doesn't have to be too tight, just snug, just enough just to hold that so that that bracket does not move around anymore. Same thing on this side. Right where I want it. Okay, I like this position. You can see that we're mounted parallel, sits perpendicular. I'm not hitting the sight, no interference, so I do not need these spacers. Now that I know that I don't need these spacers, I'm gonna wanna open up our hardware kit. Inside the hardware kit, you have a number of different screw lengths. What they're for is replacing these. You can see that these are too long. They're sticking out on this bow. That's what these extras are for. They allow you to use the right length one, whether you need the spacer or not. It doesn't matter how wide or thin your bow is, there'll be a screw to fit so they don't stick out the other end. So I am going to select this length screw when we do the full assembly at the end. Pull these out. Remember that I'm going to use them. 2 for the top, 2 for the bottom, and the rest don't need them. They can go to the side. I've got this loosely mounted. Now we need to slide the rod back out, slide the rings back off, and then replace the screws in here and here with these screws so that they're not protruding. Additionally, in this process, when you take this apart, also peel the layer. We'll go through this. We're going to take it apart. Okay, so I'm going to take this back off. Now I know I don't need that spacer, so I want to put this rubber gasket on the back of the Picatinny rail. Take that, peel, line up the holes and the edges as best you can, drop it right on there. Easy enough. Now we can reassemble. Easiest thing, put them together. Use our new screw length, the shorter ones that fit flush. We'll slide this over. Same process as before, no difference. All right. We got those put back. We'll leave them a little loose so that I can get a final adjustment in there. I put them roughly back where we had them before. Slide our rings back on. Put our and then same thing on the other side. Okay, so once we've gotten here, we can slide our rod back up. And do a final check. Make sure the alignment is where you want it before tightening these down. That is exactly where we want this. Make sure to put the top cap back on. The top cap is functional. It slows the rod movement just a slight bit and quiets the assembly down. So definitely make sure you don't lose that top cap. Okay, now we're in. We got our mounting brackets on. Everything's tight, snugged up on the bow. We got to put our rod at the proper spot. Now that's going to depend on a number of factors, your height being the biggest one. Also, you know, if you're hunting in a stand, depends on different things, but you can get a different height out of it by sliding this up and down. Now, for most people, average height, probably a good starting point is to just start with the top of the brake here, aligned roughly with the bottom of your cam. You go with that. Those of us that are taller, you can slide it down like this and get another few inches worth of lift. For example, on my bow, I have it set down like this, just a little taller, little more length. So you're gonna want to find that spot wherever you want it. It's easily adjustable, and orientate this back facing you. So the braking mechanism is facing back towards you, the shooter. Once you've got it set, screw these thumb screws down. And you want to get these thumb screws pretty tight, pretty snug. The reason being is if you do, and it will take all the play out, this works as a great way to carry the bow. You know, you're used to walking around holding them by the strings. This is a far superior way to traipse around in the woods. Okay, so got it all snugged up, everything's locked in, that's where we want it. Final assembly piece is the bubble. So there's enough hose on this to accommodate any bow setup. You can leave it just the way it is now, you know, wrap it around a few times, run it through something, however you want to deal with that. You can also cut this, which I'm going to do, I'll show you. Second of all, you need to figure out where you want to mount your bubble. So some people like it out on front and they can squeeze it here. Some people like it higher, some people like it lower. I think, and for most cases, the easiest spot to put it and the less intrusive spot is where you're holding it down here on these bottom two fingers. So I'm gonna look at that, I'm gonna mark this bow right there. I want this to be right here. That will allow me to actuate the mechanism, but it's not in the way and it's not bothersome while I'm shooting. So this is a good spot. The next part is gonna be routing the hose. So every kit is supplied with a length of hose that's enough to fit any bow in any configuration. You can leave it at this length and wrap it around a couple of times, tuck it around, use some zip ties, however you like to do it. What I'm gonna do, and what I'm gonna show you here is to cut it down in length a little bit so that it's a little cleaner. So I know I want my bulb here. What I'm gonna do is pop this hose out of the fitting on the bottom. In order to do so, you just need to squeeze the end in and you can pop the hose right out. Now, little water will come out. Make sure you hold it this way. It is full of water. This is hydraulically actuated. So, I'm gonna put this bubble here and just route the hosing where I want it. And I'm holding the end so that the water does not come out. That looks about right to me. So I am gonna cut it right here. Okay, and it is still full of water. So, just want to pop it right back in there, and it will positively click. You'll feel it stop. One wrap around here, right up here where I want it. And now it also came inside your hardware bag is a piece of self-vulcanizing silicone tape. Now, there's no adhesive on this tape, no sticky residues to be left, and it's very, very comfortable on your hand. You don't notice it. What you're gonna do is use this and wrap around the top part of your bubble here on this nipple in order to hold it to the handle. And this material is really nice. It's self-vulcanizing, as I said. It sticks to itself only, right? So there's nothing, it's not sticking to anything else, and very comfortable on your hand. Just be careful not to let it stick to itself, because once it's pressed together, it is a permanent fit. So, just gonna take this, wrap it right around the nipple part on that bubble. see a little better this way. Wrap it around there until it's all used up, and once you've got it all on there, push it down real tight. Make sure you put a lot of pressure onto itself. That's how it bonds itself together, is under that pressure. So that's looking good. As you can see, that's not going to bother me at all while I'm shooting. Don't even notice it in the handle. In order to actuate, whenever I'm set, drawn and ready to go, I can squeeze that wherever I need to be, and I'm set and rested. So last step, there are small, I'll pick it up and show you. There are two small screws. There's one right here underneath that wing nut. Same thing on the bottom mounting bracket. Those need to be snugged up. And what that's gonna do is that there's a little bit of play built into this in the manufacturing process so that everything aligns right. And this is really just gonna lock everything up and take that play right back out. And you just run these screws in, snug them up, and that is the complete setup. One more time. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.